Hey, what's up, guys? MKBHD here, and you're watching a special edition of Ask Mr. Wonderful, where you guys ask the questions and we answer.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going.
You want to talk tech? I got the tech guy here. Marquez is the man. Today, we'll answer your questions about anything. Ready? Let's go.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful and MKBHD. You both have strong personal brands. How different was your journeys since you built your brands at different times? And also, what advice would you give to someone who wants to build their personal brand in the next few years to come?
So he's definitely right about different times and different methods. I can say that my personal brand was built by just being really genuine about my passion for tech and putting it in video form, controlling all of that, evolving the craft, and posting it online. And so I kind of think that's, if I gave any advice for someone today where that particular method is easier than ever, I would say to stay true to something you're passionate about. If you have the goal of just making money, that's not good enough. And then to just be comfortable with doing it until it eventually succeeds.
I take a stab at it this way. If your mandate in your life is to just build your personal brand, you will fail. That's not how it works. You have to be transparent and honest about something you know a lot about, or at least feel very passionate about, and people feel that connection. And if they connect because they believe you and you're honest, it'll work. And I'll tell you something you should understand. People smell bullshit a mile away.
That's true.
Real fast.
Yep.
And if you just can't do it without bullshitting them, you are never going to get anywhere. So try and be honest and see if you can actually play it out that way. Not everybody can do it. This guy built a huge brand. My son is a massive fan of his because he said, Dad, that guy just tells the truth wherever it goes. That's it. That's why he's a rock star.
So if I were to summarize what the MKBHD brand is, it's kind of in the name. MKB is my initials, and HD stands for high definition. But what that really sort of means is it's a high quality look at technology, and it's an honest look. Like you mentioned, I tell the truth, and that's kind of the whole point. So if you're trying to figure out if something's worth buying, I'm going to use it and tell you if it is worth buying or if it's not, and you're going to get the cold hard truth and in a quality, entertaining, informative way.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Remember Walter Mossberger?
Walt Mossberg, yeah.
One of the things he did right, he was your predecessor in some ways. No brand could ever convince him to become a spokesperson for them, and if he didn't use it, if he didn't like it, if he didn't believe in it.
Right.
You're kind of the same way. I bet all kinds of companies, particularly consumer electronics, want you to give the endorsement to them.
Yeah.
And you have to fight that back with a stick.
Yeah.
How do you get away with that?
Well, I mean, it sort of was built up that way. I was doing this before it was ever a business, so companies would come along and offer money, like you said, to be a spokesperson, and the obvious answer was no, because I didn't use it, and I didn't really feel passionately about it, and it didn't matter. Now that it is a business, you would think it would be like more tempting to deviate from that path, but it's sort of so ingrained now that I continue to make the choice of only working with companies and products that I actually care about. That it just feels natural. So that's just.
Are you okay being critical too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually usually more helpful than praise. You see praise for good products all the time.
Yeah.
I love this thing. It's so great. It's so fast. It makes my life easy. But the criticism of the bad things is what helps them make their next version or their software update better. So I find oftentimes the criticism is actually more valuable than the praise.
I was sitting with a bunch of engineers that work on the battery ops at Tesla last week, and I said I was going to be doing this with you. They went out of their minds. They said, look, that guy is straight dope. He just calls it the way it is, and we love that. That is your brand.
Yeah.
The no bullshit aspect.
Absolutely. Fairly recently, you've had bigger companies sort of invite me behind the curtain, behind the scenes to talk with engineers and executives and even high, public-facing people at their companies. And to an extent, there's a lot of trust involved in that. Like you said, there's a risk in me, asking a question.
But does
they
it
don't want to
change
answer.
when you're sitting there realizing you're on the other side of the curtain now?
Mm-hmm.
Does that change the way you ask a question? Do you force yourself to edit yourself
No, so I kind of put myself in the shoes of who's going to end up watching this, which is what would I want to know? What
And
would I want to
ask,
ask?
and ask.
And that's what I want to ask. I want to feel like I can deliver something because of my access that would not have ordinarily
And
been
did they
possible.
lay down any ground rules on you?
It would depend on who the interview is with. I've actually found tech to be some of the least restrictive. Just because I spoke with like a real A-lister, Will Smith, for example,
Yeah.
and they're working with like Disney and Paramount, and they're trying to focus the questions on a certain thing. But a lot of these tech guys just sort of like talking tech, so it's never really been a problem.
So you don't have the PR people squeezing your head to keep promoting something?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
That's a beautiful thing. The Mr. Wonderful brand is simply about telling the truth, and I take a lot of heat for telling the truth to particularly entrepreneurs who don't want to hear their idea has no merit and is bankrupt. But the truth is the market's going to bite their hiney anyways, so if you can't get past me, the market's going to eat you alive anyways. And I really feel that telling the truth helps people. Doesn't mean they love you, but in the long run, it helps them. And so I'm not the mean shark, I'm the shark that tells the truth. Get off my back, stop bugging me. I gotta get you into watch, man. Like that's,
Well, I'm gonna ask you about my watch in a minute.
yeah. That's a piece of consumer electronics.
It absolutely is.
And, again, because I'm Mr. Wonderful, I want to tell you the truth. When you walk in a room with that on your wrist, you're telling everybody I'm 20% off retail. You want to
Really?
get a watch that talks about you as, it's a style thing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I would be caught dead with that on my wrist.
So here's how I see it.
Okay.
Because I kind of see parallels in the car industry in an
Yeah.
interesting way. An investment watch
Yes,
versus a utility watch.
yes.
So when I'm walking down the street and I get a notification on my phone and this shows up and I can just dismiss it real quick, right? Or someone calls me and I don't have to take my phone in my pocket. I'm just hanging on to the subway with one hand and I can take the call real quick and then end it. That is some of the things that I value in a utility watch. Where if I was just buying a fashion piece or an investment watch, where I have different goals, whether I wanted to appreciate and value or I want to look better, this is not what I would choose.
So what would be cool for you would be to have a watch that speaks to you from a style perspective or an investment perspective and the electronics utility.
Right.
The other day I was looking at this watch and a woman beside me who I didn't know said, "What time is it?" I said, "I have no idea." She said, "You just looked at your watch." I said, "That has nothing to do with the time." I'm appreciating the art, the mastery of making this piece, which is one of
Right.
10 in the world, and it just brings a tear to my eye and I love to look at it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what time it is. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what a watch is about.
Totally different. And you see the same thing in cars too, right?
Sure.
Where someone will just love and appreciate a car sitting in their garage beautifully. I might not drive this thing but once a year, but I can look at it and admire it for the mechanical art that it is. Or I can buy a borderline piece of tech, an electric car at Tesla,
Yeah.
and it's just getting me from point A to point B over and over and over, and I'm saving money because I don't buy gas, and there's all these other values to it.
Well, maybe it's because you're a young guy, but at some point you want to appreciate the art, the mastery of a man spending 1,000 hours to make something that has no reason to exist other than it's a piece of
feel
art.
that. I feel that.
Because that watch
Yeah.
tells the time a lot better than this piece of art.
Right.
But this thing costs 4,000 times what that does, and I appreciate what this person did with his life to make this thing.
What is this watch, and should I get it, or is that not the appropriate first watch?
This is an FP Journe centigraph, of which there are only 10 on Earth.
Sounds like I can't afford that.
This is number 6. I'll tell you what it costs. It's about $80,000. But it's not about the money. It's about that that F.P. Journe, who's actually Picasso alive, if you could buy a Picasso from Picasso in the south of France, walk into a studio and say, I really love that, I'm going to buy it from you and I know who you are, that would be really what's happening here with an F.P. Journe.
Right.
So when a man only makes 10 watches, he's really gutting his soul for you because he's not doing it for the money.
That's like the McLaren GTR like special edition, eight in the world. You know they're special, and they can only make so many before they're not
Does
special.
that sing to you? Would you like to own one of those cars? Are you a car guy?
I'd say I'm more of a car guy than a watch guy, and I can make those parallels, and I appreciate the mastery of the mechanical design of a watch in the same way. But let's say I want to get a watch, and I can't go head first into the McLaren GT of watches. Where should I start?
The watch that I think would be perfect for you as a starter watch would probably be the Patek Philippe 5711 Nautilus. It is the most pursued watch on earth today. It's steel with a blue face, but it is a beautiful mastery of what Patek Philippe is all about. In
fact,
fact,
this watch face, it's like copying some of that.
Yeah, I know, but like that ain't a Patek, baby.
I know.
But the point is, when you walk in a room with that, people that love watches know right away that you respect the mastery of making something like that. And also that you would have one says, Patek really digs you. Because there's 1,000 guys around the world that want one of those.
But it's difficult to actually get.
I think I can help you out. But you have to make that decision that you want to get there.
All right, that might be something I can dip my feet into.
Because you know, I have the thing is, watch collecting, once you get that bug, is a horrible disease. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. You get your first Patek and you say, wow, I really love the way this is working with me in my style statement and I want more, then you're
Okay, got it.
Marquez, you stepped it up. You call cars utilities, and yet you stepped up as one of the first guys to buy the Cybertruck, which I thought was a crazy chicken design when I saw it.
You're not alone. Yeah.
But I now want one too. Why did you decide to buy that?
I'm curious why you say you want one too, because this is something that grew on me with a lot of other people.
But when you first saw it,
I first saw it.
And I'm sure he would give a damn what you thought.
I said I don't need that. Like, I went into the event knowing we're going to see a pickup truck, and I walked in saying we're going to see a pickup truck, and I'm not going to get it because I don't need a pickup truck. Right. It rolls out on stage. It's wild. The atmosphere in the room changes. Everyone has the same pulled back reaction. Like, what are we really looking at right now? Is this real? The presentation goes on. We're eventually convinced that it's real. He goes through its merits in typical Elon style. And even after all that, I was not convinced I wanted one. But then in Tesla fashion, the test drive was actually the first.
And you're one of the guys that got to test drive it?
I was the first one to get a test ride.
I mean, that says it all.
And so that was the beginning of my switching over. And this has happened to me in Teslas before, but you know, it's roomy inside, and you're not thinking about the design anymore. You're thinking about how fast this thing is, how quiet the thing is. And what finally rolled me over into purchasing, or reserving, as you'd say, is we're actually shooting a bunch of car videos for our tech channel now, and we would have at some point in the next year or two anyway needed to get another utility vehicle to shoot the car video from. Because when you shoot a car video,
just to put all the stuff in and move it around.
You need a second vehicle to do that, to get those rolling shots and all those sorts of things. And we thought about a minivan because you can hang out the side, or maybe a pickup truck, which we've used, because you can hang out the back of the bed. And it turned out this Cybertruck is sort of the best version of all of these things.
How are you going to actually open the back of the Cybertruck to be able to shoot clean out of the back?
The same way we did when we did it out of a F-150 or whatever it was in West Palm Beach.
You can take the back off?
You can either take the back off or put it halfway down and tie it to the side so that you can use it as sort of a bed for holding the stabilizer. It's also silent, so you can mic up whatever beautiful sound.
Are you going to take any flack because it's almost like a Humvee, you know? It's like a really big honking military-sized monster beast.
The design is definitely still that hard to get over hump for me and for many others. But you know, they're starting to drive it around a little bit in LA. They're getting eyes on it. It's going to be in tons of press in the next 3 years by the time it comes out. And I think it's going to grow on people, and it's growing on me.
I want that black stealth carbon look.
Same.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I want that to drive up and down to our cottage with the larger battery full of crap. And I don't want to have to charge it at the top end. I want to be able to come back down.
Right.
Looks like 350 miles maybe, right?
Yeah, so the triple motor and the biggest battery, 500 miles.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to be getting.
Yeah.
Look, it's not a pickup truck. It's some kind of other thing,
Yeah.
but it's grown on me. And, you know, that Elon guy kind of steps ahead. He kind of reminds me of Steve Jobs in a way. I used to work for Steve in educational software, and I'd always say to him, Steve, what about the research? He said, screw the research. People don't know what they want till I tell them. And I said, you arrogant prick, how can you say that? And he was 100% right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Yeah.
He was not an easy guy to work for, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I gotta.
Yeah.
Every time I get to ask someone about working with Steve, it's a fascinating story. So.
And I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful, my name's Kendall. I just wanted to ask you, what is your approach to breaking down doors of opportunity? I'm in the music business and I sing, I write, I do the whole thing, but obviously struggling to break through. So I'm down for the fight. I'm down to do whatever it takes to make me and my business successful. So I just wanted to know, what do you think is too far to go for yourself in breaking down those barriers, and what do you think isn't enough?
All right, Kendall, great question. When I think of my own last 10 years, you know, specifically in tech and in media, the best procedure for me has always been to make the best possible thing and then let the craft speak for itself. And the word organic comes to mind, specifically as a way of letting things build and grow. So I was always sort of against like paying for ads on videos and things like, you know, doing extra work to like sort of promote this video. I would almost be happier if not enough people watched it, but the people that watched it really liked it, rather than the opposite, which was a ton of people watch it, but the video wasn't good enough and it wasn't really as effective. So I always bias towards pouring all the effort into the craft itself.
Production value.
The production, the value of the content, all of that, and then letting the rest sort of organically grow from that.
Kendall, I'll take a crack at it a little differently. You want to advance, you're feeling you're getting held back. When you meet with people that can help you grow your career or get your objective done or help you with your mandate, think about it this way. Because this is advice I give to everybody that's trying to get a job or move up or even advance their own business. If you had 15 minutes with somebody you wanted to work with and you talk about yourself for those 15 minutes, that's a mistake. What you should be talking about is how you can solve problems for them. All the hires in my companies and the people I hire within my own, venture capital firm and private equity firm are people that came to me with really short resumes, basically one line saying, I need to meet you because I'm going to solve some big problems for you and help you build your business a lot faster. That's it. I'm interested. I want to hear what you have to say. I don't care where you went to high school, what the name of your dog was. I couldn't care less. But if you've done some work and you can tell me how you can advance what I'm trying to do, you're hired, Kendall. And then I'll give you 6 months to go prove it. Do that all the time, and it really works. Think about that. Think about talking to people about how you can affect their outcome, and you will be a very, very popular woman.
Hey Kevin, I've heard some of the pessimists about the stock market recently point to the activity going on in the repo market as a sign of an impending economic disaster. I was wondering if you could explain why the banks are doing this and if it's any cause for concern. Thanks.
So Mark, the repo market is about liquidity, and it's a technical term for a lot of people that don't understand it, but here in New York it's very important. The reason people have been a little nervous about it of late is there's less and fewer banks now as a result of what's happened in the market. So repo does matter. It's about liquidity of cash, basically. But what really drives the market long term is economic activity. We're going to have 2% GDP growth next year, most likely maybe 2.1. The domestic economy is on fire. Technology is the most advanced of all those sectors, has been phenomenally successful. Why? Because it adds productivity to the other 10 sectors. We have 11 sectors in the economy. Tech is one of them. But technology drives productivity in every sector. And so what has made America work so well is the fact that we advance so many great technologies. A question mark's emerging, though, because China is graduating 250,000 engineers a year, and they're not making shitty little pencils anymore. These guys are really advancing in some areas that we're falling behind in. 5G, AI, facial recognition, all kinds of things that they're challenging us on. So it's a new global economy, and I'd argue to you, maybe you want to invest globally. I do. I don't just own the FANG stocks. I own 56 international internet giants, because I don't know who's going to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't speak to any of the technicalities of it, but what I will say is, in the sort of, when I think about it in tech, the decision about whether to buy something now or to wait because something better seems to be on the horizon, that's kind of always going to be the case, especially in tech. So, new phone comes out, 3 or 4 new phones are all sitting there in front of you, and you're thinking, well, one of these seems to be the best, but should I wait for the next generation or this incoming on the horizon better opportunity? That will always be the case, and so if you just buy the best of what's available to you now, and make the best of it until that next opportunity, then that's just as good as you can do. So that's my tech version of that spin.
That way you always own something.
Yeah. So one of the most popular questions I hear, especially in smartphones, is, are these companies holding back features or advancements in their products in order to intentionally make the next version better, so they can hold back that one little thing they know in their back pocket for next year and then sell that next year? And then the next one they hold back something else. Is that intentional? Is that real? And I don't think that that's real. And it's really easy to think it is, but here's why. You want to win now, and that will build up your potential for winning more in the future. So why would you hold back your current product in any way if you essentially will have all your competitors do that thing that you're not doing, and then you can move forward in the future, and that's already your disadvantage. There's very unique cases of companies like Apple or Google where they're in such a position where they can make some stranger decisions and not necessarily have to fall in line with the competition. But the competition is chomping at the bit so hard and doing everything they possibly can every year. So there's no reason, if you're part of that competition, not to do that. So at the end of the day, I don't think most companies are holding back features in the tech world in their back pocket, because tech moves fast.
Well, let me ask you a specific question about exactly that. It
Sure.
seemed to me last year, and even for the last 18 months, that the Apple camera was substandard or not as good as what was on a Samsung 10. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I bought both, because when I was taking photographs, particularly with the wide angle on last year's Samsung 10, it was a spectacular image that I couldn't get on the Apple phone.
Right.
They didn't seem to care. They stepped up with the third lens now, and I would say they're comparable, but that was a lag of a whole generation of phones.
So Apple in particular has to do, or very frequently will do, something that you might call a second mover advantage, where they'll sit back for 1 year and let these newer features, an under-display fingerprint reader, these new ultra-wide cameras, and these subtle new technologies sort of bubble up and see which ones hook. And they're such a massive company with such a massive, they're almost like the odd one out in their strategy, that they can wait that 1 year. And then when it turns out, look, every single other phone out there is doing ultra-wide angle camera, and they all love it, then they can come in the next year and do it well.
So that's what happened here.
So that's typically what happens with Apple. And with the bigger features where they're sort of driving their own direction, like the headphone jack, moving that out, doing wireless audio, they can be pioneers of things like that.
And
but
that really pissed me off, I gotta say.
you're not alone at all in that. But yeah, when you look at Apple, you sort of have to take that second thought about where they are in the market, because they can wait a little bit on those smaller features. But generally, they want to give people the best product they can to sell as many as possible. So hey, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. not about the destination.
Listen, this was a fantastic Ask Mr. Wonderful. They keep getting better. That's why I love doing this. Keep the questions coming.
The dangling carrot that hang from the rear view. Your dreams in the past ain't nowhere near you. Backseat drivers got nothing but 2 cents. Shotgun riders too biased, they all liars. I should get an A for effort, I'm too tired. But I'm never giving up, that's why I'm kinda admired. Role model, like it or not.